Hi, how's everyone doing tonight? Yeah, this does not need to be dramatic. Okay, let me just get right into it. Okay, for do you ever think about how being you like it's like you never think about it, but do you ever think about how you were raised and the environment you grew up in, depending on like how your parents were or if you had aunts, uncles around, however you think about these things, and it's kind of like you realize it can have either a it can have a positive or a negative effect when you get older, right? And what I've come to realize is being being overly critiqued or overly criticized at a young age, having to deal with like a lot of just I'll just stick to that. Just being overly criticized, being, I would even say, interrogated at times, or like being put under the light. Like, hey, so why the hell did you do this? Why? And just being pressed like that. Being just being even when like you bring up something, maybe you talk about something, you had an issue, you were upset about something, and then instead of listening, the person doesn't really want to hear it, or they automatically get mad at you and start talking about, well, you should have did this, and this, you should, when in fact that person doesn't want to hear that right now. They just want you to listen to them and then just support them. Okay. So you think about all these things. You think about, like, say if someone messed up or made a mistake, and like I said, if you had to grow up with a parent that was overly critical, very kind of strict, be on you about certain things, always questioning you if you did like mess up or anything like that. You realize you as a child, you internalize that, and when you get older, you end up exhibiting those same traits. And yeah, you have good traits from your parents. You might get your work ethic, your personality, and things like that from them, right? But sometimes you get the negative aspects as well that may not have been the best, and that stuff can rub off on the child, and then they internalize that, and they carry that when they get older. So it's crazy that same child starts exhibiting those same negative traits from the parent, and they put that on others. You put that on other people. So if your parent was doing the interrogating and stuff, making you feel like you have to explain yourself, making you feel like you have to be perfect, or you feel like all these things because you were criticized so much, then being compared and things like that, you start doing those same things to other people. It could be, I'll give you an example. It's kind of like if you are like, someone say they drop a water bottle on the ground, the water bottle burst. Instead of just laughing that off, right? Now I'm kind of like, why the hell did you drop the water bottle? What were you thinking? Da 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 da. And my boyfriend had brought this to my attention, and he's like, "This is a lot." It's like, and I felt so bad because it's like, he'll say, "Well, you're being negative. Uh, I don't really need that right now." I just need you to just try to be supportive and be helpful and things like that. And obviously in my brain, I'm so like, no, you, this could have been avoided if you didn't do this. You didn't do that. This wouldn't have happened. Da, da, da. I'm kind of like going in when it's kind of like, okay, Joel, he dropped it. He already probably feels horrible about that. Maybe I shouldn't add on to it. And this goes for anybody who I've like might have encountered or interacted with. And yes, some people do things. It may be shady. They might have done something that it was like, well, what the fuck were you thinking? You have those. That thought process, right? Yes, sometimes people do things and it is kind of weird, especially if it keeps happening. And that also what triggers like me being paranoid, because I've dealt with people being shady, things like that. But what I have to understand is sometimes like when you start questioning people and doing that in certain situations like that, and then depending on the situation, what it is, that can like scare someone away. That can make them not want to be around you. And I'm kind of like, okay, that's fucked up. And I've realized, okay, wow, I was acting like my parent here. This is kind of messed up. And that comes from like other things you deal with growing up. And you thought you were like, you're getting better at it, but it's kind of like, you took 10 steps forward, now I'm taking, 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. And it's kind of like, oh, damn, this is a problem. Yeah, but yeah, he brought that to my attention. He says I do that a lot. He says I do that a lot. Now, to be fair, he's done some things where I'm kind of like, where it warrants a reaction, but does it need to be a reaction every time? Do I need to get that mad and be like, and all this? So I didn't realize that I can overdo it. And that's where that comes from. That being overly criticized, being critiqued, and being interrogated, and having to explain myself. That causes problems. Now I'm just explaining myself. Or I realize he's explaining himself, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even want all this. That's the thing, I didn't even want him to explain himself. And it's like, or anybody else in a situation, I didn't want them to explain themselves. I guess when things don't make sense to me, I get frustrated. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Do it this, it just doesn't make sense. And I just have to work on that. So that's just what I think about, and I think that's where it stems from. When I think I know, it stems from that, and also dealing with other things, like people who done weird things, and they were actually being shady. They wasn't being upfront with me. They wasn't telling me what was actually going on. They were keeping shit to themselves, or just going talking to other people about me and not really saying stuff. Or they're not really saying anything. But no one really gives a ain't nobody, I don't know, it's weird. It's like people say nobody's doing anything to you, but then it ends up someone is doing something. But I have to, this is like a tangent I'm going on. This video is like way too long, but it's like, I don't like being like this. It's just frustrating, and I just have to calm down. If something reveals itself, then it reveals itself. Because I'll see it every time. I'll see it. And I don't say nothing. Stay calm. Bring it up once. Leave it alone. That's it. It doesn't need to be a whole drawn out thing. Okay, cool. I have to work on calming down. I don't need to get myself riled up because of, I don't. Or make myself paranoid or something. It's just weird. Yeah, I gotta work on that. I have to work on that. It's a problem that I don't want